Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I'm going to talk about how to love yourself and what that truly means as a higher conscious person. And I think self-love gets mixed up a lot with narcissism these days, that people are behaving improperly and they're expecting too much from others. They want somebody to kind of financially take care of them, or they want somebody who is so subservient that you do whatever you're told, and these patterns are not healthy. So when people talk about self-love, I think it's very deep as a topic and it can be very confusing. So I'd like to break down a few practices that I do that are very helpful for self-love that I think makes sense, and it's not taking away from anybody who you might care about in your life. And so the first practice I'd like to talk about is meditation. Taking a few minutes to be quiet and breathe every day. It's unbelievable how that practice builds, and then in moments of stress, when you need to pause and actually make a good decision, like when someone cuts you off in traffic, your first gut instinct at that point might be to get angry, or do something you may regret on the road. But if you're practicing meditation, what may happen in that moment of the trigger is your mindfulness kicks in and you take a second and you realize, don't react, just keep going and let that person be, which is usually a wise decision. Unless you're a police officer and you can give them consequences for their bad behavior, it's better to leave those drivers alone. So meditation is very key to help you deal with life. And that is a form of loving yourself. Now, having said that, also meditation by itself, it's a great practice, but there are so many more tools to learn that are very, very helpful in terms of being out in the world and being with others and managing relationships well. And so I'm going to go into more tools. So the next tool I'd like to go into is gratitude. That's going to just clean up your attitude and clean up your energy. Always look for the positive things that people are doing in your life. Always look for the positive that you have a roof over your head, or you're able to eat. You have a car maybe, or maybe you don't have a car, but maybe you have really good public transit where you live and you can get around easily. If you have employment, that's also a huge gift in your life. Like, that's a huge gift in terms of the money you receive. But it's also a huge gift in the sense that you're of service to someone else, you're giving of your time, you're developing skills, you're developing relationships. And even if you have a very difficult relationship with a difficult boss, I would argue that's not the worst thing you could encounter in life. It's not easy, and you may want to consider looking for another job for sure. And I think it's okay to open yourself up to new things with a positive attitude and yet show up to work with a positive attitude. But anyway, I digress from that. Having a job, any job, period, and having money coming in is something that a lot of people will envy you for. So any job that you have, even if it's the most mundane job in the world, do it with love. Be grateful that you have it. So aside from gratitude, affirmations are very helpful. And how do you know which affirmations are best for you? There's so many different ones, right? And you can check out Louise Hay's books. She's got some really interesting ones where she aligns affirmations with different physical illnesses, and that's worth checking for sure and seeing if there's any that suit you in terms of getting over a particular illness that you may have. But there are other ways to develop affirmations that can be very helpful. So here's another one I'd like to propose. So when was the last time somebody ghosted you? So this is something a lot of us have experienced. The interesting phenomena about ghosting is what it will do is it will bring out your insecurities, because you'll wonder, why did that person ghost me, right? But that's actually a golden opportunity, because when those insecurities come out, you may not experience them on a day-to-day basis when you're doing your job or cooking. Your insecurities are kind of locked into your unconscious and you may not even be aware of what they are. But when some triggering event happens, somebody says something nasty, you get ghosted, and these triggering events happen sooner or later in our lives. Those negative thoughts that you have are a good clue on what you need to heal. So I would write all of them down, whatever negative thoughts you have, and then I would affirm the positive or the opposite of those insecurities. Let's say, for example, I think somebody ghosted me because they met me and they found out how chubby I am, right? Let's just say, for example, that's the insecurity. Well, what you can do about that is write that down, affirm that I am beautiful, I am slender. So that's a good affirmation for sure. And then you could also go to the gym and take some action to work on it, because that's just going to make it even more real for you that you are this person. Whatever action you can take, however small, will affirm that new positive reality in your life, no matter how difficult it is. Or let's say you're worried about money, even saving a very small amount of money, and just starting with $2, $5, and building it up until it becomes a practice of actually saving bigger money can help you build confidence that you are financially abundant and that you can handle money well, right? So those are a couple of examples of common insecurities that people might have. And then you can write and affirm the opposite in the morning, that you are abundant, that you are healthy, that you are fit and slender. And these things do come true after a while when you put work into them and you affirm them. It's good to do both. You want to do both the work and you want to affirm it, because you can do the work and not believe in yourself, and then you're kind of wasting your time because you still see yourself as like the fat person, right? And you might give up, you might lose your motivation. So the affirmations are very important to motivate you. But then on the other hand, if you don't do the work, your affirmations are gonna have not as much mojo, right? The work that you put into them gives you that powerhouse energy that allows you to believe that new reality. Okay, so we've talked about affirmations. So here's an interesting question I'd like to propose. Where do you think negative beliefs come from? That's a really, really good question. And here's the answer. It actually comes from other people usually. You might be like, oh, but these people might be my friends, my family. I can't disagree with them. That might rupture the relationship and stuff. But usually our negative beliefs are passed down to us even as young as 4 or 5 years old. We may have a parent who's really struggled with addiction of some sort, or maybe they're in a dysfunctional marriage, and then we kind of absorb that negative energy from a young age, and then it kind of starts repeating itself in patterns and cycles as we mature. And if you believe in past lives, then there's a whole possibility where you could actually have patterns from that as well. And sometimes where people have a pattern and they don't know where it comes from, that's an explanation, right? If they've had an ideal childhood and yet they're still struggling, that could be why. So, now when you find out what these patterns are, basically the trick is you've got to erase the pattern, like through taking action and setting affirmations, like I talked about previously. That's very important. But there could be people in your life also who are negative and they're an ongoing presence in your life. It could be a friend who calls you up and complains about the opposite sex all the time. And they could be saying, I can't find a good person, and they complain and complain and complain. Now, some complaining is understandable. Sometimes we do go through things, sometimes we make mistakes in life, and that's okay. But if someone's continually bringing you the same problem, right, over and over, and they don't have any commitment to change, then my next tip would be for self-love that you should consider cutting the relationship. Or if you really can't because they're a family member or something like that, and you don't want to completely cut them from your life, find ways that you can communicate safely with them. Like have an ongoing meeting where you talk on the phone maybe once a month or something like that to catch up and see how they're doing, but don't invite them over to your home. Don't stay with them either on holidays, and keep a safe distance from them, but don't cut the communication completely. That can be a really good strategy for parents if it's your partner, and this is a hard one. So for all of you in more traditional backgrounds where your parents want to arrange marriages for you, be really, really cautious, because choosing the wrong partner is probably one of the toughest life decisions that's difficult to erase. Now, having said that, more and more people do divorce these days, so there is divorce, and there's nothing to be ashamed of with divorce. I would say if you have a toxic partner, it's better to get divorced rather than try to stay and work it out. But having said that, you don't necessarily want to go through that in the first place. It's better to stay single and enjoy your life, right? And that doesn't mean like, you know, mindlessly hook up or put your body in danger or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that. But having said that, you just want to be cautious who you get involved with as a romantic partner, because that takes a lot of time and energy. And if that person turns out to be draining, that can be a really draining life choice that really takes your life mojo away, and that's not something you want to get involved in. So if a family member is putting pressure on you to marry, you probably want to set boundaries on that. Unless they have real constructive, helpful advice and they pick good partners, you know, that might be suitable for you, then sure, okay, go for it, you know. Maybe that could be a good avenue to find a nice partner. I'm not saying that I'm totally closed-minded to it, but don't let anybody pressure you into a toxic relationship. That's just one of those life decisions that's really, really difficult once you're in it to erase that life decision and go back to being a healthy, happy, single person. But it's not impossible. If that happens to be you, have faith that maybe you can set some boundaries. Try therapy, you know, try setting some boundaries by maybe separating for a while and living in separate places to see if that helps you resolve some of your issues. But also, don't try too hard to fix everything, because that can also be very draining, and sometimes the right solution is just to get a divorce. But anyway, those are my suggestions for practicing all these forms of self-love. Meditation, so you don't let other people trigger you in your day-to-day life. Gratitude, be grateful for everything you have, because everything in life can be taken away, and also we get caught up in being jealous and envious of other people's material possessions. And that's a big toxic waste of time. You don't want to go there. So gratitude is very important for that reason. Affirmations, whatever your insecurities are or whatever you don't like about yourself in your life, it's okay to be aware of what those things are and start working on them. Start affirming the opposite and build your life up to be better. And then the next step that I was talking about was taking stock of your relationships, because that's often where our negative beliefs come from, are from negative relationships. And they're everywhere. It's like in every culture. Just because you're brought up in India or you're brought up in Canada or you're brought up in China, it's like each culture is a little different. They have all their own varieties of belief systems and stuff, but every one of them has a toxic element. You're not going to completely escape negative beliefs just because they're part of our primal consciousness as human beings. We used to have that negative consciousness to help protect ourselves from saber-toothed tigers. It's just that it's not very helpful in this day and age, you know, and so it's better to let that go. So it's good to not judge people if they are negative at times, but just make sure you're limiting your interactions with them and you're not getting influenced by the negative energy, and you keep your positive mindset and you keep that safe and guarded, and you have really good boundaries with that. I hope that all makes sense, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm sorry I haven't posted a long video in a while. I hope you really enjoyed this advice, my perspective on self-love and things you can do to help yourself. These are just common tips, but maybe people don't always understand them. You may hear about gratitude or meditation, but you don't know how it benefits your life to the fullest. I hope some of the examples I provided help you understand that these things are powerhouse tools that actually help you avoid very negative, costly mistakes in life and can help you build the life you've always wanted. Okay, so I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video if you really enjoyed the content. I've got lots of ideas for more content that are coming out soon, and I hope you're all having a lovely, beautiful day. Take care.